And woo, it's another Friday. Happy Friday, Craig.
Happy Friday, Matt.
Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram.
Um, you like the way we switch things around? I know people can't see that from where they're sitting, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's nice. We got a little more elbow room in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes it you know. I know our internet now. If you're watching, I live in the country and we have one of those. It's for some reason freaking out. Hopefully, I tested it a little bit ago, and it was working great. But it is not now. But hey, we're going to talk about 4 different segments. Jackie's hanging out. Bella, she could literally step over the gate that I have there.
Oh, yeah.
Like very easily, hardly would touch her belly.
Right.
But it was there when she was a little puppy so that she wouldn't come in and chew on cords, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just one of those mental things for her. It's like, well, I'm not supposed to, so I guess I won't. But once she figures it out how easy it really is, it's going to be one of those things. So no, I'm not going to hold Bella because she just doesn't let me do that.
No, it's a little more of a fight now.
It is. It's a lot more of a fight now.
Yeah.
But our 4 segments today, we're going to talk a local segment. It's a nurse who found bodies of Irwin Jacobs, wife of him and his wife at their Lake Minnetonka mansion, and she sues for damages. In our economy section, U.S. economy, we're going to talk about after years of being squeaky clean, the Federal Reserve is sounded by... let me say this. Is that an oxymoron? After the Federal Reserve being squeaky clean?
Maybe naive.
Yeah, because let's be honest about that. I'm pretty sure that there's been some of this kind of stuff going on, since 1913 probably.
Was that the year it was formed?
It was,
yeah,
I believe.
See, not much government oversight, and they basically run the banking systems of the country.
Yeah, so a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about, we're going to get into some Hunter Biden stuff and how they literally now have evidence that Hunter Biden's laptop materials was suppressed purposefully. And we're also going to talk in the entertainment section about good old Steve Burns of Blue's Clues, who abruptly left the show in 2002 and comes back and needs some cash, I guess. Or I mean, I don't know, whatever. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But send us your comment. We will take the comments later in the show. We'd love to know what you think about the different segments, what we're talking about, and all that kind of fun stuff. But first, hammer the share button, hammer the like button, and get those comments hammered out. And it's fun for us to talk about the comments with you and share other people's opinions, because that, after all, is what it's about. I'm going to lean hard into this nurse who found bodies of Irwin Jacobs, his wife at their mansion, and how she sues for damages right away here. A home health nurse who discovered the bodies of prominent Minnesota businessman and his wife in a murder-suicide case is suing their estate and seeking damages for emotional trauma. Lisa Ann Hayes walked in on a grisly scene in April 2019 at the Lake Minnetonka mansion of Irwin and Alexandria Jacobs. Irwin Jacobs had fatally shot his wife and then himself amid health who made my internet, I don't know what's going on here, is have two backup. I have a main and a backup, and both of them are deciding not to work right. Apologies for that here. I think we're back, Craig. We're back.
Back in black.
Let's get going. So this is simply the latest baseless effort to extort the Jacobs family. Miss Hayes threatened to publicly file her lawsuit filled with unnecessarily lurid and sensationalized details unless the estate paid her $2.5 million. Hayes' attorney, Brian Stofferin, said Hayes has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder by 2 doctors and has been unable to work since the incident. Her attorney declined to comment on whether Hayes had asked for $12.5 million, but said there has been a demand against the insurance company. And hopefully at some point the company will make a good faith offer, and they have not to date. Ridiculous thing. Everybody, I apologize. This is the problem with in the country and doing things live, but it definitely is freaking out here, the internet. So hang on with us. We'll be back when it, like it now pops back on. But let me tell you a story. My daughter, as you know, Craig, and a lot of people watching and listening, died in a car crash. I came upon that car crash not knowing. Just drove up on the scene while they were trying to extract her. Couple of years before that, you'll remember this one for sure too, but the 5 people that died in Rochester on the south side there on Highway 60.
Highway 30 and 63.
Yep. I found the little boy in the weeds.
I didn't know that.
Thrown from the car. Like I say, 5 people had died. I had seen, I didn't find, but I had seen 2 of the other bodies. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get the stress of it. I get how traumatic that is. But this is a blatant, to me, the way this looks and the way this reads, it is a blatant search for money. $12.5 million won't solve any of your post-traumatic stress disorder issues that you are pushing. Extorting them for this is pretty much blackmail. I mean,
it's hush money.
Yeah, totally. And I have a real hard time with this.
Yeah. And the background on the Irwin's family is, or Jacob's family, sorry, Irwin. He was a business liquidator. So he would buy companies on the cheap and revamp them and then resell them for huge profits. I think he started with what I read. He bought Greenbelt Brewing in 75.
Okay.
And we
I
sold
didn't go
it
that
shorter.
deep, I guess.
Yeah. And I've had dealings with members of his family quite a long time ago. And I think that business model is possibly generational. I won't go into that. But, so they had oodles and oodles and oodles of money. The mansion that they lived on was for sale for like 5 years and never sold. It was the estate of the founder of General Mills. So it was a big chunk of property up by Lake Minnetonka. So the money was there anyway. And I think from what I had read, the murder-suicide was they were having financial issues. And his wife was wheelchair bound and sounds like she had onset of dementia. So she had some medical issues as well. Not that justifies it, but it's not always grass greener on the other side. But with what I've read, it wasn't just a home health nurse. She was pretty close with the family. I think she had worked there for quite a long time. So she probably heard and saw lots of things. And the lawyer came right out and said it, of if if they don't pay up, she's going to spill the beans,
Yeah.
and that's not a good person.
No,
it's a
it's
money
not.
grab totally, and where you were going with, what she had seen with the murder suicide, and the comments that I had read on this of, well, you're a nurse. This is kind of expected with the job of, you're going to see things that are not pleasant, and if you're not comfortable with that, then maybe you're in the wrong profession. Just like law enforcement and fire and EMTs and our military, they see bad things, and they know that they're going to see bad things. So for her to go after the family, it's pretty inappropriate.
It's very inappropriate. I'm right there with you. So I can say the trauma of it. I understand that it exists, but you can also decide that you are going to not allow that to control you, and you can decide
Yes.
that that's going to be something that's just not even, it's there, but you deal with it like anything else you deal with.
Right. And that's easier said than done, but
it correct, but it's done.
It is done.
I've
done
personally
every day.
done it.
Yeah. With your daughter.
Yes. And you deal with it.
Yes.
And you get people to help you deal with it and all those other things. And it's absolutely completely, and even if let's say it's a money thing for her, she can't afford and blah blah blah, that isn't true. There's help out there that she would not have to pay for if she can afford it, if she's financially strapped like that. And it says she hasn't worked since, and all those things. I imagine the family's probably paid her, the estate has paid her, her salary at some level.
Yeah, I can't imagine she wasn't taken care of.
Right.
Being essentially the family, the personal caretaker for these two.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I've got friends in law enforcement that, for those that are local to the Rochester area that lived here in the late 80s, the day about as gruesome as you could imagine. But they, they talk about it, but they don't sit there and dwell on it. They'll never forget what they saw that day, but it's kind of one of those, it comes with the job. And they didn't go after the family, or the estate because of what they saw. Sadly, that's part of life. And they've found their ways to deal with it. So I struggle with this one. I mean, I think a lot of people would. Litigious country. It's everybody's out there for, not everybody. A lot of people are out there for a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Looking for easy money.
Totally.
And the only people that are guaranteed to win in this are the lawyers.
And I think that says an awful lot, doesn't it? Should we, how can we, I was thinking about this last night. How can we avoid this kind of stuff from happening?
It's a great question. You can't write it into law because the people writing the laws are typically lawyers.
Right.
And they're not going to cut their nose off to spite their
And
face.
like you say, who's the one that makes all the money on all of it?
It's the lawyers.
It's the lawyers every time.
Yeah. And there are good lawyers out there, don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But like with anything, the bad ones ruin the reputation for all.
Yeah. And then people would go down the path, situations like this, they they would say, writing things into law, they would say that capitalism is part of the problem, and because that's why they're making money, and they can't do that in Russia. And no, it's because people operating it is why it's happening.
Right.
That's all it is.
And people are hiring these lawyers to continue it.
Yeah. And these insurance companies end up saying that, well, you know what, it's cheaper. Let's just go ahead and pay out this, we'll give you want 12.5, we'll give you 10 million. Bella's getting her voice. I said earlier in the show I can't pick her up anymore, but boy, she's found her voice. She's finding it. So thanks for weighing in on the conversation, Bella. So anyway, anything else you want to add to this one?
No. I just hope that the right outcome is found, and I hope she gets the help that she feels that she needs, but not via the Jacobs estate.
Yeah, that won't help anything.
No. It'll make her feel comfortable, but is it because of her PTSD, or is it a money grab?
Is it a ruse?
Absolutely.
That's the big question. Political confirmation of Hunter Biden laptop materials prompts criticism of earlier suppression of story. I find it pretty interesting, even coming from Fox News here, that the way they're framing this, right? Political confirmation of Hunter Biden laptop materials prompts criticism of earlier suppression of stories. The New York Post was literally taken off of social media because of this.
Right.
It wasn't suppressed.
It was just locked down.
It was locked up.
Yeah.
The key was thrown away for a while on this one.
Yeah. They just weren't just putting time out in the corner.
Right. And then they couldn't keep hiding it. So let's get in the story a little bit. Nearly a year after the New York Post Hunter Biden laptop story that big tech companies suppressed weeks ahead of the 2020 presidential election, Politico reported Tuesday it had in part confirmed the authenticity of the material. Okay, time out. Politico reported Tuesday it had in part confirmed the authenticity of the material. See, words are extremely important, and framing this again is just another scapegoat. This is, well, part of it's true, but blah, blah, blah. This is why the mainstream media, I don't care what side of the aisle it is or whatever, it is just crooked.
So just to confirm, where on the political scale does Politico rest? Are they a very conservative side or a very leftist side? Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely left.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I
thought that was the case.
It is the case. Followers. So it's very interesting. So, quote, a person who had independent access to Hunter Biden's emails confirmed he did receive a 2015 email from a Ukrainian businessman thanking him for the chance to meet Joe Biden. The same goes for a 2017 email in which a proposed equity breakdown of a venture with Chinese energy executives included the line 10 held by H for the big guy. Politico's Ben Schreckinger reports in his new book, The Bidens. Emails released by a Swedish government agency also match emails in the leaked cache, and two people who corresponded with Hunter Biden confirmed emails from the cache were genuine. Politico Playbook added in a tease in the book, while the leak contains genuine files, it remains possible that fake material has been slipped in. What? Wait a minute. I got to stop there.
They always put in that scapegoat. If it's not a story, why don't they just do an investigation and clear Hunter Biden's name? And how is Hunter Biden, and they'd talk about it later, how does he end up being on a board for a Ukrainian energy company? What's his background that he was the right person for the job? I don't know what
his dad was vice president of the United States.
Well, I mean, that's one angle, yeah.
I made a decision with this story. This is a really deep rabbit hole on this story because it goes down the path of, when basically Air Force Two, they used to kind of make this deal that the Ukrainian Burisma is the company in Ukraine, and that they would not investigate. She's finding her way over. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
she's getting
coming
there.
around the side.
You're big enough. Just step over, Bella. Come on. That's part of the switch, right? Because she has to be on the complete opposite side of all the people that she loves.
Mm-hmm.
She can't hang out with anybody now,
right?
When we're doing the podcast, so
yeah,
she's gonna weigh in. But anyway, so Burisma, this company in Ukraine, first Hunter was flown on Air Force 2 with, hey, not right now.
Apparently, she
this
wants
is
her
real
voice
life,
heard.
people.
She wants her voice heard.
That's right. She maybe thinks that there's more to this than what we're even talking about.
Could be.
But anyway, Air Force 2, Hunter Biden got flown over, made the deal. So then also on tape, on recording, at the time, Vice President Joe Biden is telling, was it the Ukrainian prime minister or something like that? Some high level ranking official, and that that the person investigating Burisma needed to go away. And I'm not saying that verbatim, but that's essentially what it was. It was very clear. I've heard that
they need to be quieted.
Yes, they needed to be fired and to go away.
Right,
and they were. So this story is so deep. Why isn't there an investigation?
The thing is, it's not deep. It's all right there. It's not like you have to
multi-layers.
Okay.
Let me say it like that.
It's not a secret. People know about it, but nobody's pushing for the investigation, or we're not seeing anybody push for the investigation. Whether your dad's the president or vice president or not, there's all kinds of corruption here, and they used Air Force 2 to make it happen.
Yeah. Taxpayer money.
Yeah. If this was Donald Jr., they would have tried 3 impeachments on Donald Jr., even though he's not president.
Right. And I think that's the point in how anybody can look at any of these things, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, quote unquote. How can you look at this and not say we need some sort of independent investigation to look at this and figure out what is going on really?
Mm-hmm.
Because this elitism and this swamp this is real, and we see evidence of it over and over and over again. And you get a person like Donald Trump that comes in and wasn't expected to win, even in primaries, let alone presidency.
And that scared everybody.
Everybody
on both sides.
Political elites. Yes.
Yeah, the swamp.
Exactly. So for average, everyday Americans to not call for audits on both sides of the aisle, to not call for the things that we need to look into, literally Hillary Clinton, the emails, just the fact that it exists, let alone the content of those emails, is federally illegal and is a felony.
Correct. Yet she was allowed to run for president.
Yes. So it's that part of it's deep.
Very.
And that's why there's not investigations. So the American people, in my opinion, get your head out of your hiney and stand up and make this kind of stuff known and shown, and that we're not going to put up with it.
But how do we do that? Because we aren't part of the elite.
The problem to me, and I'm not saying this is a solution, but the problem, the way I see it, is that I can't find more than a handful, and I mean like 2 or 3 shows similar to this. But the problem with shows like this, frankly, we're not scary, hyperbolic, blowing things out of proportion and one-sided.
Mm-hmm. And
so because we're not one-sided, because we're not showing blood, look at The View. Do you know? So is that Meghan McCain who's on there?
I'm happy to say that I have not been a frequent watcher of The View.
I'm not either, but if you follow news, if you look at some of the news, we've covered some stories where she's been involved, in the sort of peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
So she's John McCain's daughter,
okay.
Right? And so she's, the right.
Mm-hmm. He
And
wasn't very right, but yes.
no, correct. That's my point.
He was pretty middle.
And so they're doing all this fighting and all this kind of stuff on the show and blah blah blah. And that's what people, that's the sad thing to me is that people buy into that hook, line, and sinker.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't get away from that, fight the right, fight the left, fight the whatevers, we will lose long term every time.
Absolutely.
And if we can't sit down with some of the people who like to watch the show and take clips from the show and take them out of content, if we can't extend an invitation, and in fact, other people have extended invitations for them to have conversations with me,
mm-hmm.
and they refuse to do that, that is on them.
Absolutely.
And
if you have something to say, come and say it.
Not just say it, but have a conversation about it.
Right.
Let's sit down and understand each other.
Right. Tell me your reasoning, and let's see if we can find a middle ground.
And let me give you an example.
Disagree.
Correct. Right. So, did you hear about the vote for the Iron Dome? Was that yesterday?
I did not.
Okay. So I believe it was yesterday, and 9 people voted against it.
What's the Iron Dome?
So the Iron Dome is Israel's defense system.
Gotcha. Yep.
So for the Palestinians that continually bomb them.
Yep.
And so 9 people voted to not fund Israel's Iron Dome, to not give them funding for that.
And who were the voted? Was this at the UN Council or was this in Israel?
No. This is the United States.
The U.S.
Yeah. AOC was the lead.
Shocker.
On voting no. She cried when the vote came.
For a country to defend themselves from missile attacks.
Yes. She cried because she didn't get her way.
She must cry a lot.
No, she gets her way too much.
But not enough. And
I'm happy to say that that's pretty bipartisan. When you have 400 and whatever it is that vote yes to fund the $1 billion for the Iron Dome of Israel, an ally of ours that is getting bombarded continually, I think that's a good sign. Yes. That gives me some hope.
But you question those 9.
You question those 9 significantly because that clearly means that's a very fringe group in America.
Absolutely.
But how dangerous is that group?
And they're very loud.
And that's the point of it.
That's the scary
Does
part.
AOC sit down and have a conversation with Candace Owens, the other side of it, that who, in my opinion, is also way too hyperbolic and sensational? And I understand points on what she's doing and what she's trying to do. I get that. And it can be said for The View too. But here's the reality of that. That's entertainment.
Strictly, yeah.
Strictly. That is entertainment with a little bit of news and truth in some of it, right?
Right.
And so, but we don't think that way and we don't realize that. And I'm getting kind of off on a little bit of a sidebar on this kind of stuff. But that to me shows why this Politico stuff comes out. They know at this point in the game, they can come out with this information and it doesn't matter.
Right. Because people watch that stuff thinking it's the news. Enough people watch it thinking it's the news, and I don't think it's ever intended to be the news. It's all for ratings.
Totally. But this coming out like this and saying that the Hunter Biden laptop thing is true, it doesn't matter anymore to anything.
Right.
We know Joe Biden at 79 years old right now or whatever, about to be 79. He's not going to run for a second term. There's no way.
No.
So it's over in that sense. They can come out with this information. You know what it does? They can now say, see, we told the truth. It
cleared their name.
Exactly. It took us a while to get there because we had to investigate it and make sure.
Right.
And all these in part words and all these other words. And so now they can say, see, we're legit.
Mm-hmm. After all the hype is gone and it's just kind of hidden in the back corner,
yeah,
they can come out and say that. It's kind of like putting in a retraction in the back of the paper after an article on the front page destroys someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like on social media.
Absolutely.
Except no retractions.
And so, yep. Except that, you know, they won't sit down and say, hey, let me understand you. You know, I can't ask the question, what's your intent here? I can ask you because you're here in the room with me and you made the decision to do that. And we don't always agree.
No, and that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. And so that's the whole point, is that we can have that conversation. And when people refuse to have that conversation, that's where it's dangerous, in my opinion.
Just hiding behind the keyboard.
Yep.
Yep.
Those good old thumb warriors. After years of being squeaky clean, the Federal Reserve is surrounded by controversy. This is a long story, everybody, and I think, as always, this link will be in. It's in everywhere, so you just click on the link. But the Federal Reserve has a big meeting on tap next week, one that will be held under the cloud of an ethical dilemma, and will be run by a policy-making committee that finds itself with fairly pronounced divisions about the path ahead. Markets largely expect the Fed to follow the two-day session with no major decisions, but rather just the first but significant nods that the historically easy pandemic-era accommodation is coming to an end soon, if slowly. And it goes on, and they use the word tapering a few times in this article, and everything like the fun words. But there was part of this section a matter of credibility. More than that, though, the Fed lives on in its credibility, and some of the recent problems could dent that. So let's stop here for a second and what do you think as an overall of this article?
Well, I'll definitely say that I'm not an expert or well read on the Federal Reserve. I have a very small understanding of how everything works, but it's frightening to me that a group like that has basically complete control over our banking systems, yet not one person on that is elected, to my understanding.
Correct.
They're appointed. And okay, so worst case scenario, they're doing backroom deals and padding their pockets and insider trading. What's the recourse? What's it matter? Who's gonna
hold them accountable?
Who's gonna hold them accountable?
Mm-hmm.
Could they be put in jail for it? Are they going to get a slap on the hand and be pulled off the board? There's no control over these people. They're controlled by the swamp.
Yep.
So that's what scares me. For people that have so much influence on the world, but there's no way for the people to hold them accountable. So, as far as the article, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with at their meetings next week. But what they do is going to completely affect what happens to our country in the next 2 years. If they change rates or whatnot, and as far as like the housing market, the lower rates of what have been able to keep people able to buy anything right now because the prices are so inflated, and if they up the rates, people's buying power is going to be cut drastically. So I don't know if that's going to affect housing prices or just affect how many people can buy what.
It's affecting housing prices. I looked at that, as part of this economy section, and prices are on the rise. First-time home buyers, they talked about how difficult it is for them because they're being outbid significantly.
Right.
Nationally. I mean, I don't know what it's like locally, but
no, that's the case.
And so, and they're not being outbid. A large majority of it, let me word it like this: large majority of them are being outbid by corporations nationally. they're coming
There's
in.
some stuff going on.
Yeah. And so that's weird. And so it's something to pay attention to, I guess.
There's national groups that are creating their own market. They're buying houses. They're, and I'm not going to name drop companies or whatnot. It's
BlackRock. It's one of them.
Okay, that's not one that I'm familiar with, but there's
the
ones that people use all the time, thinking that they're legit.
Yes.
The way that
BlackRock, I want to say they invested something like $50 million in 1 month in buying up whole neighborhoods,
so they can put pricing where they want. And it's just, as a realtor, I see this more in depth, and I've actually run across it this week of one of these companies is, oh, your house is worth this much, we'll buy it from you so you can move on to buying your next house. But they're not paying market rates, and they're charging huge commissions to do this. So they're really they're purchasing the homes considerably under market value. And what I like to see is it's working itself out, because they've relisted these houses 2 months later after paint and carpet, and they've had drastic price drops. And it's like, you see what they bought it at, and you see where they're trying to sell it at now, and it's like they're going to be upside down on every one of these houses, which is great, because you know what, go out of business and let us do what we do.
Well, that's part of the American path, isn't it? I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, but that's part of the American dream, is to own your own property. And that's a path to, I won't say wealth. It can be, but it's definitely a path to more security as a family, owning property and things like that, and something to pass on to, which doesn't happen as much anymore, but
it's rarely.
Right. But it's something that you can pass on as an inheritance or whatever.
But I mean, the direction I was headed with my comments was, these companies are basically swindling people to buy their houses at not true market rates, and then trying to turn and burn to turn a quick profit on them. And they're kind of getting caught with their pants down. They made promises to people. They aren't paying people what their houses are truly worth. So they're not being honest with that. But everybody thinks that, oh yeah, we got a great price on our house. Well, once you look at your costs because of their fees, you're not getting what you should have if you would have gone with a realtor. But now these companies are going to take it in the shorts, because the market's drastically slowed down, and the market is right now where it should be, not the insanity that we had this spring and early summer. So the market's definitely settled. The downfall is we still have super low inventory, but going back to this article, we still have very low interest rates. So people have more buying power because of the low interest rates. And if our rates go up 1 or 2 points, somebody that was qualified to buy a $300,000 house is only going to be qualified to buy a $260,000 house, or whatever that number is.
It's probably
so they can't buy
that.
as much. But those houses are going for a premium. So their money isn't going to go as far, and that's what's going to really hurt people, and it's going to make it even harder for first-time home buyers to get into anything that's decent.
You talk about buying power. So my daughter's unfortunate passing in the car crash, and my business then 6.5 months later burned down, and because of the things that catapulted off of my daughter's death meant that I didn't have insurance on that part of the business because it was paid for. And so there was no recovery, no anything. So, and I don't say that to sound wah, but the reality is now, until another about 3 years from now, I'm extremely strapped with recovering, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And from a financial standpoint, which is part of the trauma that a lot of people don't see, but and actually a lot of trauma people don't see, but it's part of the piece of the trauma of what happened. And you buckle down and you do it.
Right.
But literally, and my point to this is literally this week, I decided, it's the end of the month here coming up. I'm not buying groceries this week. My grocery budget is so thin that I'm like, I'm not going to buy groceries, right? And that's the reality, because groceries have gone up significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And my cost this year, I'm an independent contractor essentially, and that part of what this since certainly January has happened. I would say at the end of the year, it'll probably shake out to be 40% higher this year. My cost of business, 40%.
That's a big chunk of
in
change.
1 year. That destroys things pretty fast.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand, is they don't see those things, taxes going up, and it's a little bit right here. And you talk about the buying power, and then it's a little bit right here with the interest rates. And then it's a little bit over here again with groceries, and at the gas pump, it went up, I think legitimately like 40 some percent right now. Nationally average is what, 47 or something percent just in this year.
Oh yeah.
And so that buying power, that's the whole revolution that needs to happen here, is people need to understand that their buying power is being taken away a little bit at a time by these different policies that are happening and put into place. And now the Fed is caught with their pants down in trading on the stock market, which is exactly why this article, this article is about. And they're like, it's kind of divided. What do you mean it's divided? It's illegal.
Right.
How is it divided?
And after the collapse in 08, the government redid a ton of banking laws.
Yeah.
So the banks have to follow all these laws. Why doesn't the Fed have to follow these laws?
Yeah.
So do as I say, not as I do. And it's, you touched on it, the nickel and diming of, our utilities are going up because, well, we want to make everything green. Well, that comes at a significant cost.
Have you read the Green New Deal thing?
No, I have.
I haven't read the
to
whole
do in
thing.
life.
I've read
I've seen snippets on it.
I've read plenty of it. It has nothing. It has extremely little to do with anything being green.
Yeah, taxing people does not make the environment better.
No, in fact, that ends up making it worse in most cases. Because there's no
complete different wormhole on this one, but
totally, you can't force innovation to make, you
have to make it private. Private innovation,
totally, absolutely, and absolutely. There was something that's floating around, and I didn't really read the whole thing, but it's something about scientists have said. Oh, okay. What scientists? It doesn't say.
Scientists say whatever the people that are paying them
exactly
say it to say.
But so they don't say what scientists, but they say scientists say that if we fill up so-and-so desert, whatever the Sahara or whatever it is, we fill that with solar panels, it will produce enough energy for the world. Yeah, I don't buy that for a second.
No.
For one.
No.
But like people are like, yeah, let's do it. You see all the comments, they're cheering it on. I'm like, stop and think for a half a second. Let's talk about a Tesla car. Probably one of they say one of the smartest people on the planet currently is Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't put solar panels on his cars.
Right.
Why?
It would be pretty easy to put on the roof, hood, and trunk.
Why doesn't he do that? Because it's not effective. It's
not efficient enough.
Exactly. Not even close.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do his, and I look at all the green, the green initiatives, and why doesn't
green is good. Let me be clear on that. Green is absolutely good. We need to be careful. We need to, all those things. But let me ask you this question. First off, I don't subscribe to the Earth has been around for millions of years. I don't think it's been around like millions of years. I don't believe in evolution, and that's what evolution points to. I believe in creation, and with creation. So let me just even say this: even those two belief systems, creation and evolution. Let's say the Earth has been around for millions of years. they talk about fossil fuels that are leaked into the ocean and stuff like that. But you have to dig deep, no pun intended. You have to dig deep to look into the reality of what happens when oil is leaked into the ocean. The ocean actually ends up taking care of it.
If you leave Earth alone, Earth will take care of itself.
Yeah. And so literally the ocean, like the pressure and the way, I mean, it's pretty wild. I read this a long 10 years ago, more probably, and so I don't remember exactly, but the pressure of the ocean and all these things, it pushes that and it seals it up and all that fun stuff. It's pretty remarkable.
It's self-healing.
Yeah. And so either way you subscribe, creation or evolution, it takes care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But they don't talk about that.
Right. Just give us more money so we can make it better.
So then how did they discover oil? It was oozing out of the earth.
Out of the ground, yep.
It was oozing out of the earth for us to use.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if we don't use it? Guess what's going to happen?
I think there was a little bit of a leak in central LA. Dinosaurs fell into it, and is it the Labrador tar pits?
Something like that.
Yeah. But that wasn't man-made.
Exactly. So the green thing is, I get it. It's important. We need to be careful. We need to be cautious. We need to, be smart about what we do daily, all that stuff. I 100% agree with that. But to think that we just get rid of oil or whatever, that's going to actually make the problem worse.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're dirt road, I think you call it.
Yeah, total dirt road. And until we get, yes, we need to be careful with what we do, but until you start getting countries like China and India and all these manufacturing countries that are doing our dirty work, quite literally our dirty work, until they start cleaning up their act, and yes, you need to start somewhere, but we're a grain of salt in an ocean or in a beach, and those guys are the dump trucks of just dumping millions and millions and millions of pounds of sand, and we're just one grain.
I've been to
what
China.
They're doing is we're dropping the bucket.
I've been to China. I've seen it.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Let's start where the real problem is.
Yeah. Yes,
we can start here as well, but let's really look at where the big problem is. And I've seen it in some stuff, video YouTuber that I watch, and he sailed a boat over to the Far East. I think he delivered a sailboat to Vietnam, but he went through all the islands, and you talk about being careful with our plastics over here, yet every beach that they walked on, every island, big, smaller, otherwise, that they stopped at, were covered in plastic. Those are the people you need to educate, the ones over there that just throw everything on the ground and it all gets washed into the ocean.
What's the river over? Is it in India? There's a river that they literally just dump stuff in that goes to the ocean.
I think it's pretty common in India.
Yeah.
If you've seen Slumdog Millionaire.
I haven't actually.
Yeah. It's interesting. The slums, people are literally living on landfills, like within landfills as they're being actively filled up. It's pretty sad. And yes, it's a movie, but obviously that's based on some real life stuff. Yeah. So,
and I know we're getting way off of this article, but I think some of these things are really important because it affects working class people. Mm-hmm. And you get these multi-million and billionaires that are Bill Gates and some of them, and they're flying around on private jets all over the place, and
right. They're go to the Earth summits.
Yeah, it's like, okay, sure. Yeah,
but with our technology, why do they have to do that in person? Why can't they do it all video conferencing? They should be able to do it from the comfort of their own couch.
Exactly. On the beach that is going to flood in 5 years if according to their information, but yet they're buying up all kinds of beach property for $30 million, Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to.
But the sea level is going to rise 100 feet.
Well, I think if you go off of Al Gore's thing, basically the UK would be underwater today, right now, currently.
Yeah, and we have 10 years until our planet dissolves.
Yeah.
According to AOC.
Yeah. I definitely believe her. You don't?
I'm a little skeptical.
Let's talk about some cheery news. Blue's Clues. I had kids that were like loved Blue's Clues growing up. This is like somebody sent me this story, and it's like, wow, look at Steve. There's a scene from a children's show many millennials still remember. The moment Steve Burns, dressed in his striped green shirt and khaki pants, picked up a large suitcase, walked out the door, and boarded an animated bus with a final wave to his Blue's Clues fans. The abrupt departure long went unexplained, but on Tuesday night, Steve Burns posted an emotional video to the grown-up fans of the show he left behind. Nick Jr. posted the video of Burns dressed in his iconic striped shirt with a simple caption. So about that time, Steve went off to college. The video was posted in celebration of the show's 25th anniversary. You remember how when we were younger, we used to run around and hang out with Blue and find clues and talk to Mr. Salt and freak about the mail and do all the fun stuff. And then one day I was like, oh, hey guys, what? Big news, I'm leaving. And we didn't see each other for like a really long time, Burns said in the video. I realized that was kind of abrupt. Burns left the children's show, which aired from 96 to 2006, in 2002. At the time of his departure, he told viewers he was going to college. The new host, Joe, was said to be Steve's younger brother. In the now viral video, Burns tells fans his departure to college was really challenging, but great because I got to use my mind and take a step at a time, referencing on one of the show's songs. Pretty interesting, little story. What do you think?
That time in my life, I definitely didn't have kids and I wasn't watching kid shows, so this is all new to me. But what's the story behind it? Why was he abruptly pulled from the show?
Well, they say, some say that he had cancer and some of these different things. But apparently he just, I guess he felt like he wanted to do something a little bit different and more. And that he I think literally went off to college. I think it says, I read way too much, so it's hard to remember the exact detail here, but it's interesting. He said he's coming back because he sees the world in kind of a sad place and he wants to bring joy, and some of those kinds of, in some different articles too, talks about it. I didn't watch the video. I probably should have, honestly, but it's interesting. It's fun that it's happening. For a lot of people at my age, because their kids or whatever watched it, and my kids' age too, they're like, yay, it's kind of fun.
19 years, he must have a couple of doctorates by now.
Exactly, right. So I really think there's a couple things. I think it's a little bit like maybe he's hungry again for that kind of life, lifestyle, being in front of the camera, doing, just that kind of thing. No doubt this is helping his pocketbook. Unfortunately.
Well, 19 years off the air is, and when you have a profile like that, you're going to be pretty pigeonholed. So it'd be pretty tough to find another career without being thought of as this guy.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's another thing that I think one of the reasons he left, it's easy to say now, 20 years later.
Monday morning quarterback.
For him, even.
Yeah.
If they would have sat down and done an interview at the time and said, okay, this is why I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. But I think that was part of the thing. I mean, he was pretty famous for Blue's Clues.
Okay.
And there's no way he would have been able to do anything else as an actor. I mean, he's an actor. Let's not.
Yeah.
And it was a great show, very positive, as I remember it. No, I don't remember it having like there's a lot of shows today that have real clear agendas that are not positive and not good, and they do it in sneaky, sly ways, and that's no good. And I didn't see that or remember that with this, and so it was just a real positive, uplifting thing. It helped the kids think about different things. It got them excited about things that real life things, and so. But I think if I'm not mistaken, I might have even said at the time, whether it was to actually anybody or thought at the time anyway, he's getting away from this because if he doesn't do it now, he'll never do it in his life. It was at the peak.
So is he going to do an adult show?
I don't know.
Maybe he's going to have his own podcast. Maybe.
There's money in it for him at any rate.
Yeah,
I have zero doubt of that. So let's get into the comments. It was a great show. Steve left because he wanted to do other things. His video brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, for sure. I need to watch the video. I really should have. I don't think he is actually coming back to host the show. That would make sense. That maybe they'll do. I wonder, if they'll do some sort of like
anniversary episode.
Yeah, like Friends just did, or whatever. What they call that, reunion show, I guess is what they did. Yeah, might do something like that. Who knows? But I guess we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Craig, thanks for being here. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram.
And thanks for being here. Don't forget to hammer the like button, hammer the share button, hammer out a comment anytime. We'll do our best to cover it or answer you back specifically on the show. And we will see you next week, hopefully. If I don't get in trouble in Chicago again. I was in Chicago, by the way, last week when I had a breakdown.
Yeah.
Not a mental breakdown this time.
This time.
Maybe next time. See you next week.